Hey, this is Jonathan from the PyCalendar team, and in this video, I'm really excited to show you a preview of PyCalendar Pro version 1.2. This brings a number of highly requested features, including add to calendar, the ability for event times to be dynamically updated to your visitor's time zone, and a couple of other quality of life changes as well. So the first thing I want to show you is how adaptive time zones function. So first of all, underneath your calendar now, your visitors will see that their event times are listed in their local time zone, and it shows what time zone it's detecting for them. So in my case, I'm in Central Time in the USA, so it is showing me that I'm in America, Chicago, which is correct. Now, PyCalendar also now looks at your WordPress time zone settings. So if we go to settings in general in our WordPress time zone, then we can see that our time zone is set to New York. So what this means is that if we take a look here, our event that we have on the site shows for me in Central Time as 8:30 a.m. But if I were to go look at our post and our grand opening, when we click on the start date dialog here, we can see that this is actually set to 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So PyCalendar is automatically adapting that in real time. If I were to go into my system settings here and change this to, let's say, like Pacific times, which will be 2 hours earlier, when I go refresh here on the page, we can see that the event has now adapted to 6:30 a.m. and we also see that it's changed to America, Los Angeles. This is of course a very powerful and useful quality of life change to the way that PyCalendar functions, so your visitors are seeing events relative to their time zone. Now, a big part of the reason why this particular feature exists is because now we have the ability to let your visitors add individual posts to their own calendars. So when we click the popover, of course, this is how it looks prior to version 1.2, but we now have the ability to add calendar links here in this popover. So if we were to go back to our WordPress settings, we're going to go to settings and PyCalendar, and now you're going to see this enable add to calendar links. So by default, none of these are selected, but you can pick from these options here. So you might want to go something like Google, Apple, and Outlook. So if we save this and then go refresh our website, when we click on grand opening, we can see we now have add to calendar links, so Apple, Outlook, and Google. If I go ahead and click this, we can see that it will open here in my Google Calendar. And of course, because Google knows my time zone is set to Central, it's going to take that event time and automatically adjust it to 8:30 a.m. Central Time, which is correct, of course. Then if we go back to our calendar here, if we click on Apple, for instance, it's going to download an ICS file, and that will open in Apple Calendar on any Mac or iOS device. And then the same thing is true for Outlook. That will download an Outlook ICS file as well. Add to calendar has been highly requested, and the adaptive time zones that I described earlier was a precursor to make that functionality work. The other thing that we now have in Pro is the ability to show and hide the PyCalendar controls on specific post types across your site. So by default, PyCalendar will show pretty much everywhere across your site, but if you know, for instance, that you only want it to appear on posts or only on a custom post type like events, you now have the ability in your settings to make sure that PyCalendar only shows up in those locations. So if I were to go ahead and save this, now when I go to my events custom post type, we can see that I have my show on calendar button inside the events, but if I were to go back to my posts for this grand opening post, now there no longer is the PyCalendar controls. With that, this is a quick preview of what's available in PyCalendar Pro version 1.2. I hope this is exciting and something you're going to find very useful. We are very excited about it internally to now have this available for you. If you have any questions, please visit our website at pycalendar.com and we'll be glad to help.